So you might not think this, but improvisation is actually quite straightforward to learn. It's very similar to learning a spoken language. It's just the musical spoken language. Now, it's not black magic or anything like that, but I think where a lot of people get tripped up when they try to learn improvisation, they just haven't got their process sorted out, their method for learning it. So today we're going to cover an example of how to implement improvisation into your playing using a very simple scale. So in today's lesson, I'm not going to get too much into the theory of the nuts and bolts of what's going on harmonically when you improvise and things like that. What I'm going to do is show you a very simple pentatonic minor scale pattern. It's used a lot already by rock players, blues players, and we're going to jazzify it a bit and show you the process of what you can do to break out of just playing the scale up and down and come up with something a little bit more creative and original, even though the pattern is very standard. Okay, so let's get into it. We'll go to a close-up now. So if you need a diagram for this and anything else I'm covering in this lesson today, you can find it on the post for this lesson video at my website FretDojo.com, and you can download all the PDFs there and work along with this video. Okay, so let's make a start here. What we're going to do first is play the minor pentatonic scale pattern, the famous scale used by nearly every rock guitarist on the planet, but we're going to treat it more, as I mentioned, in a jazz context today. So let's play this pattern first just to get the feel of it. Okay, so now that we've got the pattern sorted out, I want to show you what we're aiming for today. So I'm going to show you an improvisation using various approaches and permutations of this scale pattern over a simple minor jazz progression. Okay, so let's give it a go. Okay, so the first thing you should do with this scale pattern exercise is simply play with the backing track that I've provided on the post and mess around with playing the scale up and down a little bit. You don't have to play the full scale up and down, just take a few notes here and there and improvise with that. I'll just quickly show you now what that should sound like. Okay, so as you can see, that sounded okay, but it sounded a little bit plain, a little bit vanilla flavored. It wasn't hip enough. So what we're going to do is use this scale in a different way and take some ideas from the jazz vocabulary and apply it to this simple scale. So a lot of horn players play in fourths, and that's a very convenient interval for a guitarist, as you can make that interval most of the time by just crossing a string like this from a lower note to the same fret on a higher note. So what we're going to do is I'll show you now how to play this scale with that in mind. It uses what my teacher Matt calls a left, right pattern. So you take, if you're kind of looking from my angle, the left side of your hand, and play two notes, and then take the pattern on the right side of your hand and play these two notes. Yeah, so left. Can you see what I'm doing there? So instead of going just up the scale like this, I'm going left, right, left, right, left, right, And you can do that down as well. That sort of thing. You can find the detailed exercise for that on the post for this lesson. So let's now not actually just play the scale up and down. We're going to exclusively focus on this first idea or piece of vocabulary. So let's play this backing track again and then try to improvise just using that idea of the left, left, right, right, playing in fourths. Okay, let's try. Okay, so related to this, you can use that similar idea to branch your vocabulary out even further and now play fourths but descending kind of as you move up the fretboard. So instead of starting with this note, go in reverse. And you could then play the backing track once again, try that technique, and then until it feels really under your fingers, until it feels like it's kind of gone into the subconscious part of your brain instead of the more conscious thing, you can just do it more spontaneously. So I'm kind of showing you a crash course today in the process, but keep in mind that you should really stick to just 1 or 2 ideas per practice session and not try to cram it in too much. Okay, cool. So we've played the backing track with those first 2 ideas, and now we're going to introduce the next idea. So this is using the same idea of fourths, but this time going not just up all the time or down all the time, we're going to combine it. So if we look at on the exercise sheet there, exercise 2.3, you can go left, left, ascending, and then right, right, descending. Yeah, descending, that's right. So left, left, ascending, right, right, descending. Okay, so let's try to improvise with that idea now and see what it sounds like. Okay, so now that we've mastered fourths and the various permutations you can use on this scale with fourths, what we're going to do now is move to a different concept called approach notes. So approach notes are used a lot in jazz music. It's one of the iconic pieces of vocabulary from the tradition. And the way that you can use approach notes on this scale and practice them in is you simply play the scale as you would normally, but you put one note, 1 fret down before you hit each note of the scale. So I'll show you what that looks like. Instead of like this, you go like this. 1 note down, then the scale note. 1 note down, then the scale note. 1 note down, then the scale note. do that going backwards as well. So now let's just treat this idea in isolation, and I'll give you an example of improvising over that with the same backing track, but this time using these approach notes. Just those. Don't try to mix in the other ideas quite yet. Okay, so the final idea that we're going to cover to vary up this scale a bit today is using what's called enclosure notes. The guitarist Joe Pass uses this a lot in his playing, so check him out for inspiration there. Now, to do enclosures over each scale note, this is how you do it. What an enclosure basically is playing one note above, one note below, and then hitting the scale note for each note of the scale. So instead of going the normal scale, what we do is we play one note above, one note below, and then finally the scale note. And we do that for the next one. So practice that idea up and down, and then once again the backing track comes out, solo over the tune using exclusively that idea almost until you get bored with it. If you start to get bored with an idea when you're playing, it's a good sign, because it means that it's starting to filter down to the subconscious. It's getting boring because it's getting easier, because your subconscious is taking over. Now that's a really good sign. So let's try the backing track again, but this time using this enclosure pattern. Okay, so we've worked on fourths, we've worked on approach notes, and we've worked on enclosures. So for the final step of getting to what I showed you at the start of the video, what you should do is mix it all together now and deliberately kind of try to incorporate these three different ideas as you practice. Now, after you do that for a while, you should be able to start to improvise without even kind of thinking about it so consciously, and that's where the magic really starts to happen. So why don't I show you finally combining all these ideas to come up with what we were aiming for, a jazz slant over this very common scale. So let's give it a try. Okay, so if you're not there already, head to my website FretDojo.com. For the post for this lesson, you can find all the resources mentioned, the backing track, the diagrams and so forth, so that you can learn to do exactly what I did on this video today. And if you subscribe to my newsletter on the homepage of my website, you can get updates of when the next lesson comes out, as well as other posts that aren't videos. I do written posts about other aspects of guitar playing too, so you can check them out if you sign up there. So I hope you've had a good time today. Thanks very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Fret Dojo. Bye for now. And a quick reminder before you go to download your free copy of the exercise worksheet for this lesson at www.FretDojo.com.